Good evening, all. Welcome to Training to be a Speech Contest Judge. Hope everybody is having a lovely evening. I promise we will get through this within the hour, and there will be plenty of time for questions later. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is August Wolf. I am the District 53 Chief Judge. I have been a Toastmaster since 2011 when I was a charter member of No Substitute Toastmasters. I'm currently a member of two clubs, Colonel Ledger Toastmasters and Shoreline Advanced Toastmasters. I have served as an area director and a division director, and I'm currently the chief judge. Now that last bullet at the bottom says contest where 1 is greater than 6. Being somewhat of a math aficionado, I know that 1 is greater than 6. 1 is not greater than 6. However, in contest world, 1 contest season is the equivalent of 6 months as a Toastmaster. You learn a whole lot about speeches and how to follow a large rule book. So this is our brief agenda. If you have any questions, please send me a chat notice and we will answer it quickly. Excuse me, 1 second. Excuse me. There are 3 purposes of speech contests. Speech contests are a great thing. It provides an opportunity to practice competitive speaking. It's important that all speech contests are conducted properly, and good judging is vital to this. Good judging imparts a feeling of fairness to contestants and the audience, and that the right choice was made. You don't have to raise your hands. I understand I can't see you. However, have you ever been to a contest and you listened to the speeches and thought, at the end of the evening, I don't think the right person won? Now, there's a number of reasons for this, and we'll go through some of the ones where judging may or may not have been impartial, and then we'll talk about some situations and how to get through them. So one of the purposes of speech contests is to provide an opportunity to practice competitive speaking. Competition, I think, brings out great things in all of us. And it's great to not only participate and listen to some more accomplished speakers, but it's great to hear the realm of subjects that one can talk about. The next reason is to provide an interesting educational program. It's just great to see some great speakers take the stage and learn from them, and provide an opportunity to learn by observing proficient speakers. Judges have an obligation to contestants, to a number of people actually, but the contestants, they're entitled to a truly professional performance by each judge. Contestants expect, and they deserve, fairness and impartiality, and they should receive nothing less. Judges have an obligation to Toastmasters International. Toastmasters has a reputation for speech training, and excellence in meetings, and excellence in speech contests. Bad judging creates animosity and demeans the contest, the officials, and our leaders. Judges have an obligation to the audience. The audience deserves a good speech contest, and this means fair and unbiased judging. Whenever judges fail to make the best choice, the audience is cheated. They're also discouraged from attending or participating in other contests. And judges have an obligation to themselves. As a Toastmaster, judges have made a personal commitment for self-improvement, and this commitment includes being dedicated to making the correct decision when judging a contest. So let me ask you this question. What's the difference between judging and evaluating? A judge selects a winner. They literally pick the winner of the contest. When you're evaluating, you appraise, you advise, you provide feedback to the speaker. Judges do not evaluate. Evaluators provide feedback and they measure the speaker's presentation against his or her purpose and then advise the speaker on how to improve it. Judges' decisions are confidential and judges are not to explain their decision to contestants. They're not to tell how they can improve. By providing feedback distracts the judges from their purpose, which is to select the winner. It can cause them to judge improperly, and the result can be a bad decision. And remember, judges' decisions are confidential and final. So let's talk about what good judges are. These are characteristics of good judges. Good judges are accurate, they're fair, trustworthy, knowledgeable, and good listeners. So let's take each one of those one by one. Good judges are committed to making a correct decision, and they complete the judging form correctly. Now, a little bit later in the presentation, I will show you that judging form. Judges are fair. They need to be absolutely impartial and don't allow friendship, affiliation, age, gender, race, creed, national origin, profession, or their agreement or disagreement with the speech topics to interfere with their decision. Good judges are trustworthy. They realize that all contest participants have entrusted them with the responsibility of selecting the best speaker as a winner, and they must live up to that trust. Good judges are knowledgeable. They know the current contest rules, and I will show you exactly where to get that rule book. They study the rules before each contest, and they make no exceptions to the rules. They are familiar with the judging form and know how to judge properly. And judges are good listeners. They have to listen carefully to each speaker. They must not become distracted by other things happening in the room or anybody else around them. So let's talk about some barriers to objectivity. The first one is speaker position. And I don't mean position on the stage, I mean speaker order. The first speaker versus the second speaker versus the third speaker, etc. When people are presented with a list or series, they most often recall the end of the list first because it is the most recent addition to short-term memory. Similarly, people may remember the beginning of a list better than the middle because it serves as a reference point. Judges must compensate for this effect by paying close attention to each and every contest. So you take each speech as its own, as it's a single speech, and you try to ignore the speeches that have gone by, and you try to ignore the speeches that are yet to come. Champion for the underdog. People tend to believe that underdogs put forth more effort than advantage or more powerful opponent and are thus more deserving of success. Judges must only use the criteria on the judge's guide and ballot to select winners. Again, it's one speech at a time that's voted, or that's on the ballot. The halo effect. This is an inclination to admire all of a person's actions, work, etc. because of another admirable quality. Judges must focus on how each contestant performs using the criteria on the judge's guide and ballot. For example, if a contestant happens to be a speech teacher, this does not automatically make her contest presentation the best. Likewise, a dynamic delivery style does not signify compelling content. Similarly is the reverse halo effect. And this is the tendency to disapprove of all of a person's work because of an unrelated or unworthy quality or action. So resist downgrading a score in one area because you're not happy with the contestant's performance in another area. So what does that mean exactly? That means if they're delivery is okay, but their content isn't as good, you can't downgrade the entire speech. You can only possibly downgrade the content component. The second time around, it's common for individuals to see the same contestants again and again, especially if you share an area or division with that contestant. You may have seen them at different contest levels, and you may be seeing the same speech again and again. You'll quite possibly see the same contestant for various speech contest cycles. You must remember not to compare an individual's current performance or delivery to previous presentations. Similarly, you can't judge by what you think they can do based on how well you know them. You just base your judging on that speech at that moment. Not the norm. A false consensus occurs when an individual believes that the majority of others share their own opinion, regardless of what that opinion is. For example, in some geographic areas, it is typical for a contestant to stand behind a lectern when speaking. Judges accustomed to this behavior may harshly judge a contestant who does not do so, meaning does not stand behind the lectern. This behavior is a custom and does not relate directly to the judging standards. Again, review the ballot and it will tell you exactly what each contestant needs to be judged on. And lastly, prejudice and personal preferences. No matter what we do, judging is subjective, even though we try to make it as objective as possible. The individual opinions of each judge are based on his or her likes and dislikes, and there is no way to control the tastes of the judges. It's almost impossible for anyone to be totally objective, but judges must do the best they can, and we use multiple judges to restrict the effect of any single judge's bias. The best thing you can do as a judge is know the rules and prevent some misconceptions. I'll provide an example here. So let's talk about the International Speech Contest, which is coming up. Actually, club contests are going on right now. One of the misconceptions is that an international speech contest should be inspirational, should tell a story that is persuasive or inspires. But there is really nothing in the rule book that says that. An international speech can be about anything, provided it meets the other requirements, such as for time and originality. The contest rules state only that contestants must create their own substantially original speech. That's it. It does not need to be inspirational. It does not need to be persuasive. So let's look at the Judge's Guide and Ballot. This is the International Speech Contest Ballot. There are 2 sections to the form. Sorry. There we go. At the top here, I'm going to go this step by step. At the top here is a space here for the names of the contestants. And there's a guide for point values for excellent, very good, good, and fair. Along the side is the criteria. And here's room for your numbers and your notes and your math or whatever else you want to put on there. The judge's ballot is confidential. The only one that sees it is the judge, and then it is collected by the chief judge at the end of the contest and destroyed. Nobody has to see your notes. Nobody has to see your numbers. One other portion of this judging ballot is this bottom portion, the official ballot. And we'll talk about that in a moment. The most important thing here is that this is a line for the judge's signature. If there's no signature, the ballot is invalid. There's also lines here for first and second place, and first, second, third place, depending on how many contestants there are. This all goes to the ballot counter who helps tally them. So here we have the top portion, which is how you calculate your first, second, third place, and here you at the bottom you have the official ballot, which is what goes to the ballot counters to determine the winner. So a couple of things just for your information. There are lines for 3 different contestants for first, second, and third. As a judge, you must sign the ballot, and if you have 3 or more contestants, you must fill out all 3 lines, first, second, and third. If any portion of the ballot is not complete or unreadable, the chief judge can disregard the ballot. The whole purpose of this is to help the judge select a winner, because each contestant is judged singularly. That's a word I can't say. Individually, you would take the score number here, put it in the column, and then your total. And as you listen to each speech, you total across the bottom, and then that determines the most points goes to the first place, the second most, second and third place, etc. Now, like I said, this ballot is confidential. You can make notes on it. You can make little marks like pluses and minuses. You can do whatever you like. Nobody else sees it but you as the judge. So a couple of notes for you. As a guide, take notes. Like I said, you can make little pluses and minuses. You can put whatever you want on that ballot. I would suggest that you avoid, let's see, I'm going to put all these up here. Take notes, use suggested points, and that's the points on the ballot. You can use other point values however you wish, and then pluses and minuses to help you make up your mind how you want to tally or at what score you want to give them. So there's a few methods for using the judge's guide. Avoid bias by not filling out the guide during the speech. Instead, take the notes, catalog what the speaker did well or poorly, then use these notes to enter point values for each category on the guide. And when the speech concludes, this helps the judge focus on the speech instead of the guide and ensures the judge is not overly influenced by one category or another. Use the point values suggested. Let's see, use other points available in the range. So if excellent is 20 points, but it wasn't quite excellent, then you can use less than 20 points. It's up to you. You can use a system of pluses and minuses to rate speakers as they speak. You can also put the first contestant's name, and I'm going to go back one slide so you can see this. You can put the first contestant's name here in the number 10 column, right here. Then, when that speaker is done and you've put your point values in, you would take this edge and fold it over so you are then not able to see the points that you gave to that first contestant. It helps you judge each speech and each speaker individually rather than remembering what the first speaker did. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide here. So let's talk about some of these categories. For this judging item, there's 3 categories. There's content, delivery, and language. And you'll see them right here. Saying content is 50% of the tally. Delivery is 30% and language is 20%. So what does content mean? So this is 50% of your speech. It's speech development. And you ask yourself, did the speech have a clearly defined opening, body, and conclusion? Were the speaker's ideas presented in an easy-to-follow, logical sequence, whatever sequence that or order that may be? Did the speaker use effective transitions while moving from one concept to the next? And was the speech purpose clear? Effectiveness, achievement of purpose, or audience reactions. Did the audience laugh during a funny part of the speech? Was it relevant to the audience? Was it presented clearly? And was there a purpose, such as to entertain, to inform, to persuade, or to inspire? And lastly, did that speaker achieve their purpose? And then there's speech value. Did the speaker have a substantive, logical, clearly defined message? Were the speaker's thoughts original? And was the speech in good taste? I have one other thing to say about the development and the effectiveness and the response of the audience. Something may be hilarious to the speaker. If the audience responds by laughing, and maybe you didn't quite agree with it, but the audience did respond in the manner that was intended. Effectiveness and value. Okay, it's for delivery. We'll just put all these up here. Physical, voice, and manner. Now, this is 30% of the speech points. Physical means appearance, body language, and the use of the speaking area. Voice, think vocal variety. Was there flexibility in volume, modulation, adequate volume, enunciation? And manner, was the speaker confident, enthusiastic, show empathy for the audience? And last but never least is language. So this is 20%. So this is appropriateness of the speech and word content. Does the word choice fit the speech and the audience, the occasion? Does the word choice promote understanding of the message as the speaker intended? And correctness is correct grammar, correct pronunciation, and word selection. Does language reflect study and preparation and word choice? So one other note I want to add is the guide does not include a space for speech time. Judges are to ignore the timing of the speech. We have timers to watch the timing of the speech. So you are not to judge a speech by the time. So we have a couple of discussion points. And again, if you have any questions, please send me a chat. And I'm happy to stop and answer your questions. So there's a couple of reasons for a contestant may be disqualified. Actually, there's three. Oh, sorry. There are three. Eligibility, originality, and timing. Timing, we have timekeepers to watch the time. The chief judge will make sure that the timing sheet is collected and will manage that. So as a judge, you don't have to worry about timing. You will judge the speech on those three things: content, delivery, and language. Eligibility, the contestant has to verify their own eligibility to compete, but the chief judge will also verify eligibility before the contest starts. And originality, the rules state that it must be 25% or less. It can be quoted material, and it must be credited to the original, or credited, I should say. And we'll talk about originality in a minute. So there's really only three ways that a contestant can be disqualified. So I know this discussion part is difficult. So what happens if 4 judges sign and print their names on the ballots? One judge prints only his name, and doesn't sign it. One judge neither signs nor prints his name, and one judge only signs her name on the ballot. The bottom line is, I cannot count those 3 ballots as the chief judge. Each ballot requires a signature and requires a first, second, and third contestant ranking on the ballot. So if 4 judges sign and print their names on the ballots, if 4 judges sign and print their names on the ballots, I can only use those 4 ballots, and 3 of which are put through the shredder. What happens if one judge leaves the blank for the 3rd place winner's name empty on her ballot? So this is one of those questions that I'm sure they had an actual answer to, but this is well, it depends. If there were only 2 contestants, then obviously you do not have a 3rd place winner, and that blank should be empty. If you have 3 or more, then all lines should be filled out. So it's an it depends kind of question. So here's a good question for judges. What is the appropriate action to take if a member approaches a contest official and asks to see the points awarded to contestants? The appropriate action to take is to please refer them to the chief judge, who will then explain that the ballots are confidential and is only seen by the judge themselves. Now the judge can say that, but if there is another question, then please refer the member to the chief judge. So let's talk about the appropriate action for this situation. Contest results are announced and the contest meeting is adjourned. After this, an individual from the audience complains that judging was unfair. Now, I cannot say that this has happened to me. However, I can say that the rule book is clear. Once the contest results are announced at the end of the contest, the results are final. Therefore, this individual from the audience can complain all they want. The results stand. If they complains even before the results are read, it's really not, first of all, they shouldn't know what the results are. But secondly, it's really not up to an audience member to protest. Okay, so let's talk about originality for a minute, because this is a little tricky. Speeches must be substantially original. So all speeches, and this includes tall tales, humorous, and even table topics, a speech must be a speech in which 25% is devoted to quoting another person's published work, even though the quote is properly attributed to its source. It's actually 25% or less, sorry. A speech in which part of the material is taken from another source that is not credited. And a speech has been taken entirely from another source which may or may not have been credited. Let's see. So in discussion, or the first one, a speech in which 25% is devoted to quoting another person or published work, even though the quote is properly attributed to the source. Now the rule is 25% or less. If they are on that edge of 25%, then they are 25% or less. Then they should be okay. It is allowed to stand. If it's more than 25%, then judges can raise a protest, or there can be questions raised. by protest, either by the chief judge or any of the judges. The second one is speech in which part of the material is taken from another source that is not credited. It must be credited. Any non-original material must be credited. And a speech that has been taken entirely from another source, which may or may not have been credited, is not allowed. It isn't considered original. And a protest can be raised by any of the judges or the chief judge. During a contest, what is the procedure for addressing a protest regarding the originality of the speech? Now, the rule book is a little vague in this. I can go over this if you want, but I would rather get to see if there's any questions. This is a procedure that is, the procedure that I use comes from what happens at the contest at the International Convention, and I'm happy to go over that separately if you so wish. And the last part of the originality is, what is the public domain and how does it affect speech originality? So generally, a work becomes part of the public domain when the copyright of that work expires. So a lot of jokes, stories, anecdotes are considered part of the public domain. Their sources can't be cited. However, if a contestant relates to one of these stories, jokes, or anecdotes, even though the exact source is not known, the speaker must still acknowledge that it comes from another source. So let me give you an example. The adage, look before you leap. Now, I don't know where that came from, but I can say that the old adage, look before you leap, means such and such. You have credited it to somebody else, but we don't know where it comes from, and that saying is part of the public domain. More on the speaking area. The speech contest rules state that all contestants will speak from the same area designated by the contest chair. If a contestant steps out of the designated speaking area, is he or she disqualified for this rule violation? Now remember, a few slides ago, we said there's only 3 reasons a speaker can be disqualified: originality, eligibility, and timing. Stepping out of the speaking area is none of those 3 reasons, so they cannot be disqualified. However, one of the judges or all of the judges may decrease their score by in the delivery section of the ballot by saying that they stepped out of the speaking area. It is up to them. So they cannot be disqualified, but they could have points removed or points deducted. So this is a case study. 3 members compete in an area contest. 1 contestant is disqualified for speaking over time. The 2 announced winners are not able to compete in the division contest. Can the disqualified contestant compete in the division contest? The answer is no. Once they are disqualified for the rest of the contest, no matter what level. If the announced winners cannot compete in the division contest, then that area will not have a representative at the division contest. Case study 2. Just before an area international speech contest begins, you find out a contestant has completed only 5 projects in the Competent Communicator Manual, or in the new pathways, it's, I believe, levels 1 and 2. The contest speech will be his 6th speech. Now, the rule book is clear that they must have completed 6 speeches before the start of the contest. If they've only completed 5, they are not eligible to compete in the international contest. Now, keep in mind the rule book does say it has to have completed 6. Does that mean that that person could have completed the 6th speech the day before the international speech contest? That's okay. It has been completed and it's been evaluated and dated as such. So, but just make sure that the contestant has completed 6 by the start of the contest. So let's talk about your next steps. My suggestion would be to plan your contest early. Club contests for District 53 are going on right now. So at this point, you should have at least have it scheduled, and you may or may not have a couple of contestants lined up, but it should be at least scheduled. Area contests will take place in February, and that'll be up to your area directors to schedule and organize. And division contests will take place in March. Again, it's up to the division directors to organize and schedule. And then the district level contest will take place at the spring conference in May. Online right now, for your convenience, is an updated script, judge and functionary briefings, and contestants briefings. And I'm just going to briefly show you where those are so that you can use them if you wish. So I'm just going to change my screen here for a second. So this is our Toastmasters District 53 website. I'm sure you recognize our district director, Bet. Just follow along with me here. We're going to go to contests. And we'll go to division area schedule. Now this is the schedule for the division and area contest. This is, some of these have been scheduled. You can scroll through here at your leisure. And then the second link here under contests is contests, aids, and kits. And now these are downloadable. This is the latest revision of the rule book, and very important for a chief or for a judge to have and have reviewed. Speech contest scripts, the contestant briefing script, and the functionary briefing script, which includes the judges. You should probably download those and take a look. Again, here's some tutorials, frequently asked questions. This is the conducting quality contest. There's a ton of information on here. And contest kits. Now this is very important for the contest chair. This includes all of the ballots for the judges. It includes certificates. It includes all kinds of great stuff. A rule book. So those are always great to have. I will also point out one thing under Toastmasters International, under resources. Now, if you log in, all of the stuff in the contest kits are free. So under resources, speech contests. Here we go. Here's the same links. Rule book, rules and information regarding the various types of contests, changes, and some great material. Now, does anybody have any questions? Andrew, do we have any questions from our panel or from anywhere else?
We do not have any questions in the questions panel, and I don't see anybody who has their hand raised or is eagerly making noise to say that they do have questions.
Okay.
The only question that has occurred to me is that the rule that I'm always a little bit leery of as a chief judge is that, particularly at the contest level, is that my job as a chief judge is to make the contest as fair as I possibly can.
Yep.
Right? And to set up as best as I can conditions of fairness. But in a club that doesn't have the minimum number of functionaries, what kind of guidance do we give to a club that only has, say, 8 or 10 members, but still has somebody that wants to compete in a club contest? Can can they wrangle the rules a little bit so that they can still do their best to provide a quality experience?
Yes, they can. So the rule book, sorry, is purposefully, let's say that. The rule book does provide a provision for clubs to pretty much do whatever they need to do to send forward a contestant. Clubs have the option of voting. If they don't have enough people to run a contest, they can vote to send somebody to the next level contest, provided they are eligible. If a speech is performed, it needs to meet the originality and timing requirements. So clubs do have some freedom to determine for themselves who they put forward for the next level contest. Area and division contests, the rules are specific and they are clear as to how many judges and how many and who's qualified to judge and who's not. But there is a significant amount of freedom allowed to the clubs to decide. They just need to do as best as they can. In some contests, they've had to wear two hats. It is not optimal, but it does happen. Chief judges aren't allowed to vote, but they may be able to, and they will help the ballot counters, but they may be able to do some other function. But there is a lot of latitude allowed at the club level for contests.
And that latitude goes away at the area level and above.
That's correct. Area level, division level, district level, the rules are specific and they are tight. So the freedom comes at the club level because Toastmasters understands some clubs are smaller than others. Some clubs cannot manage to have 2 or 3 contestants plus functionaries, plus everything else. So that does happen, and it happens in my own club. Anyone have a question? Anybody else have a question?
I am going to unmute Kathy and Rajesh, and maybe they will have questions that they would like answered. So you're
Okay.
both unmuted, and if you have any questions, now's your chance.
Good evening.
Kathy, how about you? Any questions?
Rajesh?
Hi, August.
Hi, how are you, Rajesh?
Doing good. Yeah, it was nice to get to know the evaluation, sorry, judging criteria for the contest. This helps a lot. Yeah.
I'm just
Um,
putting up, I know I'm flying through this presentation. I've got one more slide to put up. Okay. Go ahead.
yeah. I don't have as such the question, but what is the criteria to be a judge? That can anyone be a judge, or do we need to be like the judges has to finish any few speeches and then he can or she can be a judge?
Okay, that's a great question. So it depends on the level. So at the club level, at the club level, the club has to do the best they can. So some judges may not have met all of the criteria, but that's okay. There is a lot of latitude at the club level. At the area level and above, all judges must be a Toastmaster in good standing from a club in good standing. That means that they must have paid the dues and the club must have paid the dues to Toastmasters International. They must also have completed 6 or more speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual or have completed levels 1 and 2 in the Pathways curriculum. So they must have completed either or to be a judge. Now, as you move higher in the contest levels, say from district to regional to the international level, there are more requirements or more that you have to be an advanced speaker, etc. But up into the district level, you must have 6 speeches completed or 2 levels in pathways.
Okay, so it means for the area level, when we will have the area contest, then we need to select the judges who have at least 6 speeches completed, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
My suggestion for you, because I know you're my area director, my suggestion for you would be to tell all of your clubs that send forward a contestant that they must also send forward a judge.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm.
That way you can meet the requirement of the number of judges or the number of judges in an area contest. That would be my suggestion to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just about to thinking that, and this is a good time. Like you are conducting this session, so it really helping me. Yeah. Thanks for
Good.
that.
I'm glad.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions from Kathy? Okay, I'm going to put one more slide up. It's a good idea if you take this information down. So if you think of any questions later, if you have a question now and you'd rather not ask online, that's okay too. This is my email address. Please, please, please email me and ask your question. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because I guarantee if you don't know the answer, somebody else doesn't either. I am happy to answer your questions, and I will get back to you within a day with at least an answer. Okay? So I would write this email down. Andrew, if there are no other questions, I believe we are all set. One last call for questions.
All right.
Okay.
I think that we're done. I'm going to, this session was recorded, and Kathy and Rajesh, if I can get a brief verbal confirmation that it's okay to post this.
Yes, we can close this.
Kathy? All right. Well, I will reach out to Kathy, and we'll see about posting the recording to the District 53 webpage and to our YouTube channel for future advisories for our would-be judges. And thank you very much to August Wolf for doing today's chat.
You're
Have a
very
good night,
welcome.
all.
Have a great night.
Thank you, August. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.